Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I want to lead the show with a conversation with representatives of the minority in the House of Representatives who had made a disclosure over this weekend and said that the issue of the allegations of alterations of those tax reform laws is still alive. I have with me the chairperson of the Minority Ad Hoc Committee on the allegations of illegal alterations of the tax law with me, Honorable Afam Victor Ogene, who represents the federal constituency of Ogbaru in Anambra State. I'd like to welcome for the first time to Inside Sources, Honorable Ogene. My brother, it's good to see you on Inside Sources.
Thank you, Laolu, and Happy New Year to Nigerians.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too. Yeah. So your committee issued a statement over the weekend and said that this issue of the alterations of the tax reform laws, which Representative Abdulsamad Dasuki raised, which I praise. I praise his courage. I actually told him that is courageous. So you guys are saying that the matter is not sorted because we've been getting information from the National Assembly leadership that, okay, the correct, the certified true copies are now in public and they've checked it out. So please tell me, Honorable Ogene, what it is that the Minority Caucus has found out.
Well, thank you again, Laolu. In simple terms, we are given a 7-day mandate to look into the allegations of alteration of some sections of the tax bills, tax acts now having been signed into law.
Right.
Particularly the Nigerian Tax Administration Law. And in the course of this assignment, we found out that there were 3 different versions of the laws floating. I say floating because the only place where the ordinary Nigerian can get a copy officially is with the Federal Ministry of Information, where the federal government press is. Unknown to most people, even before Representative Abdulsamad Dasuki raised the issue on Tuesday, December 16th, we had actually paid for and procured a copy of the gazetted copy of the law. But guess what? By the next day, after raising it on the floor, they were no more selling to anybody. And even the one they put on the fiscal reform platform run by the ministry.
Which ministry now?
Information.
Okay.
Federal Ministry of Information had been taken down.
That was after Representative
Yes, raised the issue. And so that immediately set the alarm bells. And you recall that the minority leadership did issue a statement on this issue around the 28th of December. I was in my constituency. However, on the 2nd of January, they set up this ad hoc committee and named me as chair alongside 6 other members. And so we got to work. And don't forget, as a journalist, my whole practice was built around the doggedness of Lady Comfort Obi and the thoroughness of Mike Moose, who is now a professor of English in University of Denver, Colorado. And so beyond the 5 W's and H, which is traditional in journalism, I believe in interpretative reporting. So there must be behind the news. And so that is what we actually set out to do. And we discovered that something is not adding up. On my way to the studio here, somebody called me that the deputy spokesman of the House did issue a statement and said that the report has been overtaken by events. I haven't read the entirety of his statement, but I'm sure you would have gotten it.
I was going to get to it too.
Like most people, But maybe when you get to that, we'll talk about it. But what the Minority Caucus is asking in that report is one, yes, we have established that there were and there is alteration. And two, we are asking the minority leadership to give us further time, which is in legislative practice the way to go. If you are given 7 days or 14 days and the time is short for the assignment, you ask for extension. So we have done that. But we went ahead to propose to them, recommend that upon resumption on Tuesday, 27th of January, 2026, that the Minority Caucus should consider coming by way of motion to ask that every law passed and assented and gazetted since the coming of the 10th Assembly in June 2023 should be looked into.
Wow. So you, because of this issue, you think that there is a need to look at
clean, to clean the house if there are house cleaning issues to be done.
Interesting. You are recommending to them to take a position to say that those alterations actually took place and there should be a further investigation.
Of course, and that is primarily what we are there to do as opposition, to keep the governing party on their toes. A lot of people expect brickbats, physical and verbal exchange, but that's not the way to go. In fact, some people have said that we are worse than a rubber stamp. But I think that the Minority Caucus has a duty, first to Nigerians and then to their political parties, to hold the government to account. Because if we don't strike a secrecy in government, then you know that secrecy is the incubator of corruption.
Of course.
So it is our duty to always seek, to be open and stand for the people.
Excellent. Now, I wanted you to just give a recap, just in case some of our audience didn't even know exactly what happened. Can you tell us your own description, based on what you have done in this, your committee, what actually happened? Let me give you my own, perception and tell me whether it's accurate and you can actually amplify it.
Yeah.
That so the National Assembly passed those laws, I think four of them. Okay. Yes. And then it was taken to the president. The president assented it. And what should happen is that the version that the president assented is what should be gazetted.
Yeah.
Okay. So what Honorable Abdulsamad Dasuki said in December on the floor of the House of Representatives is that he has found out that there are gazetted copies of those laws, 4 of them, that don't align with what was sent to the president.
Okay, without reading from the report word for word, yes, you are correct. After the House passes any bill, and the Senate does the same as a bicameral legislature,
right?
If there are, a few areas that we don't agree, both chambers, there will be a conference committee that will harmonize the report and so get a clean copy, which the clerk of the National Assembly now forwards
to the
president after all the internal house cleaning jobs. But he must ensure that what he is sending tallies with the votes and proceedings,
and that's why they include the vote and proceeding also.
Oh, yes. So they take it to the president. If the president has no issues, if he has issues, he could point them out, return them back to the assembly, they look at it. The only way we can override the president's veto is two-thirds. Or if after 30 days he does not respond one way or the other. But in this case, he signed this. These tax acts were passed in March 2025. The votes and proceedings came out in May.
That's the report.
Yes. And then in June, Mr. President signed them into law. Of course, with the tax administration to take effect from January 1, 2026, to give time for people to get used to what was coming. But we also found out that it was gazetted June 26, 2025. And so, if we have gone through this whole process, don't forget that after the signing, it is now the remit of the executive, functioning maybe through the Minister of Information and the printing press, to produce
Copies.
a gazetted copy, a copy of which is taken to the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court so that the judiciary would have those laws.
Yeah.
The Chief Librarian of the Federation should have it in the library.
Right.
The Clerk of the National Assembly should have it, you know. And then the Federal Minister of Information should have it and must produce
yeah,
for Nigerians who request such laws. But in between the president's assent and the gazetting, some issues came in. What are these issues? One of them is the reporting threshold. Banks were required to flag transactions for individuals that goes up to 50 million. So if you do a 50 million naira transaction, it's flagged and the tax authorities have to be made aware. Now for corporate entities, it was 250 million.
To be flagged.
But in the adulterated version, the reporting threshold was brought down to 25 million. To get many more Nigerians into the tax net.
For individuals?
Yes, for individuals. And the one for corporate entities was brought down to 100 million. So if a company, and you know huge companies, they do business in huge volumes.
Right.
And so bringing it down means taking, companies that are in the middle tier into the reporting threshold.
Yeah, actually, my own problem, Honorable Ogene, will be that it's not about the merit of the alteration, in my view.
Yes. It's about the illegality.
It's about
the temerity.
Yeah.
So if even going to add a comma
that's the issue.
To a law
that's the issue.
Duly passed by the National Assembly and assented by Mr. President. It's criminal.
Yeah.
There is no other way about it.
That's actually the issue. So I wanted you to stay on that and to say that. So now that the spokesperson of the House, deputy spokesperson, and then the leadership of the House, now that they are saying that, okay, now there's the certified true copy, I wanted to ask you, what is in that certified true copy? Have they abandoned the alterations? Or, have you seen that so-called certified true copy? I want you to educate Nigerians as a member of the House. So where is it now?
Well, the issue for me, first and foremost, my report wasn't for the entire House.
I know, yeah.
It's for the minority caucus.
Yeah.
So if the deputy spokesman is talking about this report, then he's jumping the gun. He should wait for the leadership of the minority caucus to see what we'll do with the report at plenary. That is one. Then two, ordering a release of the CTC of the tax laws is in itself an admission of guilt. How many times have we had situations where we had to release the CTCs ourselves? This law had left the National Assembly. It was now domiciled with the executive.
Right.
So we must put blame where it squarely lies.
So the National Assembly had no business, issuing a certified true copy.
Technically, they don't. But I think that in a bid to exonerate ourselves and say that we had no hands in it, maybe that was why.
Well, yeah. But so my point, Honorable, is that that so-called CTC, certified true copy, has now removed the alterations.
Well, of course, yes. Like I told you, we saw three versions. Some restored the original. And let me also go ahead and...
You guys found three copies in circulation.
Three different. So let me also go ahead to tell you that what has happened is a lot of times people in the executive arm, who either are overzealous, would think that whatever executive bill comes, have to return the way it came. No. We'll all be fools, 360 of us, to sit in a place and then you will be garbage in, garbage out. When you bring a law, we have the right, members have the right to look at it. It goes through first reading, second
Right.
reading, and most times public hearing comes back for the third reading. In all of these processes, somebody will spot something. If you say a charge of 10 naira should be imposed, a member has the right to say no. Given the economic situation, I think that 5 naira will be okay. And it's debated.
Or
If
even
that
free.
if that is passed,
that's the law.
that becomes the law.
And if the president signs it.
So when he signed, the executive officer, who packaged the law, has no business twerking it to ensure that what they had in mind ab initio should be the law.
Interesting. And this is a very live subject. And I wanted to make a comment and then ask you one more question. That I was impressed when I saw your statement because, I think that the opposition has to play a major role in enlarging our democratic space. So this matter of tax reform laws, the executive and the leadership of the National Assembly seem to have said, no, don't worry, we're going to sort these things out. It's not a big deal and all of that, And now the leadership of the National Assembly is saying that, okay, there's a certified true copy. Now, well, they can say that with the leadership and nothing happens. But if we are not contesting some of this kind of attitude, we are constraining the democratic space.
Well,
Do you understand?
Yes, I get you. But I also want to say that I don't, like I said at the beginning, I haven't read Representative Agbese's statement. But the person who called me said all the alterations have been taken care of. I don't want to quote him out of concerns
about the...
But that in itself is an admission of guilt. And also, Mr. President, on December 30, 2025, in his own statement, stating that the new tax laws will commence on January 1, did tacitly agree that there were things wrong with the tax laws. I'll just read briefly. Our administration is aware of the public discourse surrounding alleged changes to some provisions of the recently enacted tax laws. He goes ahead to say, I emphasize our administration's unwavering commitment to due process and the integrity of enacted laws. The presidency pledges to work with the National Assembly to ensure the swift resolution of any issues identified. So what I'm leading up to is, we, in a society, there are different segments. We have the civil society, we have the media, we have professional associations like the NBA. Our duty is to unearth what has happened, ensure that good and proper laws with clarity and cohesion is made for the country. Now, if we have brought this out, it's left for the other segments, the media, the CSOs, to take it up from there and ask the appropriate questions. So it's not enough to say the issues have been sorted. If it has been sorted, who brought about the issues in the first place? Somebody must be held to account. There is nothing like a minor alteration. You and I, as journalists, know that if you twerk a comma, it could alter the entire meaning of a sentence.
That's true.
So not the talk of where whole paragraphs are substituted and where new ones are added that we are not in the original.
So in essence, what your report and what the minority will be asking for is that, look, we need to have consequence. If these things were altered, there ought to be consequences.
In fact, I'm in touch with my colleagues in the minority caucus, and their primary demand is that upon resumption, they will be asking for a public hearing into this matter to be televised live. That is the only way we as legislators and the presidency will clean our names of any accusation.
That would be very good for our democratic experience and for transparency. But I want to ask you one last question. So do you guys then think that the implementation of those reforms should proceed? Already the date is already upon us. Is it part of what the minority caucus is thinking about, that, look, these things should be suspended for now? Because I've heard that. I wanted to know what's your take.
In the statement released by the minority leadership led by Right Honorable Kingsley Chinda, December 28th, they did call for a suspension of the effective date of implementation, January 1, 2026. But of course, Mr. President said no, that he doesn't consider whatever has happened as tangible enough to halt the implementation. So the minority has actually called for that suspension. But as he said, the minority would have their say, the majority most invariably will have their way. So currently they have their way. The laws have taken effect, but I think that the laws were not, man was not made for the law. The laws
was made for man.
So we are talking about Nigerians here, and it is the will and wish of Nigerians that should be predominant, and not what we in the National Assembly of the President thinks.
Certainly. If the presidency, the government were to take responsibility and say that, okay, this is the consequence, about what happened. We're going to deal with this person that was responsible, and we're going to take care of it. Will that be enough to assuage the call for the laws to be suspended?
Yeah, no, we must return to the laws as originally passed. And no law is cast in stone.
That's what they are saying. That's what the leadership of the House is saying by saying that a certified true copy. And you also said that, we now know that it is the one that was passed.
How, if the National Assembly releases a certified true copy, how do we know what is with the federal ministry? It will interest you to know that in the course of this assignment, we also wrote to the Minister
of Information.
Yes, we wrote to the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, the Chief Librarian, a whole list of people, including the Executive Chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Services, Zak Adedeji.
Okay.
Do you know that after about 10 days, none of them has bothered to reply? What are they hiding?
All of those people?
Yes.
Not just the NRS.
Received.
Even you wrote to the judiciary also.
Yes.
No response?
No response as we speak.
But they don't really have...
It's a life issue.
They are just in receipt anyway.
It doesn't matter. It's a legislative investigative house. We have the power of someone.
So what do you ask them? For instance, what did you ask the judiciary?
No, to give us the copy that they have. Simple. So what is difficult in that? How come they are all in sync?
In one line.
Yes.
And you said that you guys found out that there are 3 copies.
Yes.
And that is still the situation. There are three different versions of those laws in circulation.
And that is why we are asking for more time, so that we could use legislative instruments to compel them to bring those copies that they have.
Interesting. This is very interesting. And my own take about it is that, by the way, I am a supporter of those reform laws.
Yeah.
And I want them to go on because I believe that we are not still serious in Nigeria about taxation.
Okay.
And people
having lived abroad, so you know how taxes work.
Exactly. And we can't really get transparency and accountability until our money is in it. So I have that ideological commitment to those reforms. But I am also concerned about the alteration. I think it's a very, very sensitive matter, but government came out and said that it's been sorted. So I also think that somebody should be held responsible. We should know that this was what happened and we have corrected it. That is the way I think it should go.
For you to be taxed, you must have confidence in the system.
Absolutely.
Now we are talking about this almost in a cavalier manner, but it sends lots of messages to people outside.
Yeah.
There are people who want to invest in the country. So if we are not sure of the clarity and coherence of our laws, then it might make some people pull back. And even the ordinary Nigerian needs to be sure that this is the amount that should be taken out of it, and not something somebody had
inserted behind the back. Yes. Thank you so much, Honorable Afam Victor Ogene, member of the Federal House of Representatives representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources, and thank you for your work.
My pleasure.
Let's all do all we can to enlarge Nigeria's democratic space. That's the opportunity and the chance we have to move this country forward. And that's why I like the work of your committee and the Minority Caucus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laulu. We would always be there for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.